Hello viewers, today I'll be showing a game of mine on the theme discussed in the previous video, that is the exchange sacrifice. Let's take a look. The following game was played against IM Rakesh Jena in the National Team Championship in 2018. Let's check. The Knight of Defense, H3 system of the Knight of Defense. Here I went h6 because rook c8 would be premature in view of g5. As after g5, I have no other option other than to play knight g8. So I played h6 in order to prevent white from playing g5. So after h6, white castled, rook c8. And here king b1 was played in the game, which is a serious inaccuracy. White had to play knight d5. After knight d5, the position is quite complicated. Instead, white played king b1, and I responded with rook c3, which is quite obvious. Rook c3, bc3, queen c7 was played, and here white played rook g1. As after king b2, that is, if white tries to protect the pawn on c3, black would play bishop e7 with the idea of castling and then to bring the rook to c8. So white played rook g1, which was definitely stronger than king b2. So after rook g1, I played queen c3 and bishop d3 was played. So instead of bishop d3, h4 would have been premature in view of knight c5. After knight c5, black threatens knight a4. So white has to take on c5 with the knight, dc5, g5, 8g5, 8g5, knight d7. And now black threatens c4 followed by bishop a3 as well as queen a3. So black is clearly better here. So white goes bishop d3. And here I would urge the viewers to think for some time. I had a very strong continuation, but unfortunately I wasn't able to find the move. I played g6 here. The point of g6 is to play bishop g7 or at times bishop e7 and to castle. And after bishop g7, black can castle at once. But after bishop e7, castle would be premature because the h6 pawn would be hanging. So after bishop e7, black has ideas with king f8 and king g7. So g6 is quite flexible in that aspect because black can develop the bishop to g7 as well as e7. G6 was a very decent move, but black had a stronger response. Let's check. So the strongest move in this position was queen c6. So the idea of queen c6 is to play the thematic d5 break. So after queen c6, if white goes for something like h4, d5 gains its strength. After d5, white has to take more or less. That is, white has to take ed5, bishop d5, and then queen h3 or queen g3 would be met with knight e4. So after knight e4, white has to take on e4, and after bishop e4, black is clearly better. But unfortunately, I wasn't able to find the move queen c6. So I played g6, and here white played queen e2, which is slightly dubious. White had to play h4 and try to organize some kind of counterplay with g5. After h4, I was intending to play queen c7 to meet g5 with knight h5, and the play is quite complex. Instead, white played queen e2, then bishop g7. From here, white started to play without any clear plan. Queen d2, queen c7, and then queen b4 was played in the game, which was the decisive mistake. White had to play f4. So after f4, ef4, bishop f4, knight e5, black has a strong initiative. Here all black's pieces are positioned perfectly. That is the queen on c7, knight on e5, bishop on e6, knight on f6, and bishop on g7. Whereas the white king is quite weak. But this would have been better than the move played in the game. So let's check. Queen b4 was played in the game, and after queen b4, I castled. And here he played f4, ef4, bishop f4, knight e5. So white took on e5. Instead, 21 knight d4 would be met with knight fd7. The idea is to reroute the knight to a4 or to c4. That is, black can play knight c5, knight a4, or knight b6, knight c4. So this would be quite better for white. Black would be significantly better here. So instead, white played bishop e5, d e5, and queen c5. So instead of queen c5, nc5 was another possibility, but after bishop c4, knight a6, queen a7, black would have a winning advantage here. So white played queen c5, queen b8, knight a5, rook c8, queen b4. Knight c6 would also serve no purpose, as after queen c7, knight e7 check, and here black should play king h8, as after king f8, knight g6 would be a double check, and it is white who would be winning. So after king h8, queen c7, rook c7, the white knight doesn't have a good square. So white is forced to play knight d5, bishop d5, e d5, knight d5, and black has a decisive advantage here. So instead, white played queen b4, queen c7, knight b3, knight d7. Again, black wants to reroute the knight to a4 or c4. Queen a3, queen c6 was played. Knight b6 was interesting, as after queen a6, black would play knight a4, and this position would also be winning for black. But 26 queen c6 is much simpler than knight b6. So after queen c6, black intends to play bishop f8 next. So white played knight a5, which was a bit dubious, but white doesn't have many options. So knight a5, queen b6, knight b3, bishop f8. White played queen b2, knight c5, and again black threatens knight a4. So white took on c5, because after queen e5, black can play bishop g7, queen g3, knight b3, a b3, queen d4, and mate is unavoidable. So instead, white took knight c5, bishop c5, rook g3, bishop d4, queen b4. As after queen c1, black would play queen a5, and it's just mate. Yeah. So queen b4 was played, queen c7, rook f3, a5, and queen b5 would be losing after rook b8. So white played queen d2, bishop c3, queen c1. Queen h6 would also be bad in view of queen c5. So white played queen c1, and after queen c5, black threatens queen b4 check. And white played a3, and after b4, he resigned. I hope you enjoyed the video.